Long the dream of many science fiction fans, if Elon Musk and SpaceX get their way, members of our species will indeed live on Mars within the next few decades. But unlike in science fiction films and books, SpaceX is actually working to make this a genuine possibility. Their plan is simple on paper: get some humans to the Red Planet by the end of the decade, and then progressively build out a colony that will eventually support 1 million people. But what happens when we get there? Intrigued to find out more? Then let's take a look at SpaceX's plans for their Mars city. Welcome to Space World. In today's video, we are going to talk about Elon Musk's plan to colonize Mars. So if you want to know more about it, then stay with us until the end of the video. Mars seems like the most habitable planet among all others in our solar system, which is why Musk and SpaceX have proposed to establish a large, thriving, permanent colony on Mars in the not-too-distant future. This city will be self-sustaining and could, in theory, be home to around 1 million people. In order to be truly self-sustaining, the city's population will need to be a mixture of people from all walks of life, and not just consist of technical experts like scientists, researchers, and engineers. Getting to the colony will also likely require Terran immigrants to front up the cost of the spaceflight with their own assets or by using a loan. Since labor will probably be in short supply in the early years of the colony, an influx of a large, willing workforce would be a massive boon to the developing economy of the Martian supercolony. Once all the basic needs for a long-term human presence are set up, like food, water, shelter, air, etc., one of the following steps would be setting up administrative systems to actually manage the city. How this would develop is anyone's guess, but the hope is that the city would govern itself on its own terms. But why is Elon Musk planning to build a city on Mars? Musk, among others, sincerely believes that if our species is ever going to survive long-term, it must find a way to escape Earth and find other refuges among the stars. Being our closest, most hospitable neighbor, Mars would make an excellent first step. Moreover, it is not too far away, and there is growing evidence that it may have once supported life. If so, as Musk believes, it could again. If ever realized, SpaceX's Mars city would genuinely be a technological triumph and could be a critical step in future-proofing our species for thousands, perhaps millions of years to come. The journey to get there will not be easy, but people like Musk certainly believe it is a mission well worth pursuing. Why are we doing this? Musk asked at SpaceX's February 2022 Starship Progress Update. I think this is an incredibly important thing for the future of life itself. There's always some chance that something could go wrong on Earth. Dinosaurs are not around anymore, he added. So, does SpaceX have the capability to achieve this highly ambitious objective? Perhaps, perhaps not. The truth of the matter is yet to be seen, but SpaceX's current progress and publicly stated ambitions are encouraging. However, it will not be a walk in the park. The plan for colonizing Mars primarily revolves around using SpaceX's Starship spacecraft. In case you are unaware, this is a fully reusable rocket that is still very much under development in Texas. The finished ship should be able to transport around 100 tons of stuff and 100 people per trip. Therefore, until we are in a position to actually shoot for Mars, the Starship will initially be used to deliver payloads, like satellites into orbit, or to resupply space stations. It is also hoped that Starship will be used to supply a crewed mission around the Moon in about 2023. So SpaceX has the vision and is developing some of the hardware needed, but even with a craft like the completed Starship, it will be a monumental task. But that is only really half the story. Starship will also need to get to Mars, land on Mars's surface, and then take off and land again on Earth. We know SpaceX has made significant progress in developing reusable rockets that can land themselves, but it is yet to be seen if they can perform this trick on another world. There is a huge amount of risk. It is going to cost a lot, Musk wrote in a paper on his proposed vision for Mars. There is a good chance we will not succeed, but we are going to do our best and try to make as much progress as possible. In addition, SpaceX does have a history of delivering on the seemingly impossible. When Musk founded the company in 2002, he wrote, "I thought we had maybe a 10% chance of doing anything, of even getting a rocket to orbit, let alone getting beyond that and taking Mars seriously." After all, if SpaceX and Musk can't do it, who can? And the most important question of all, how much will it cost to build a city on Mars? In short, a hell of a lot of money, but not as much as you may think. It will take a lot of work and material to actually get equipment and ultimately human beings onto Mars's surface. Back in 2019, Musk himself admitted that it would probably take somewhere in 1 million tons of material to actualize a self-sustaining city on Mars. If we are to assume that all this material needs to be sourced from Earth, it would need to be transported to Mars over time. Using current technology like SpaceX's own Starship would take many round trips. Therefore, it has been estimated that it would cost around $100,000 per ton to send cargo to Mars. If true, this would mean that the cost of simply transporting the necessary materials from Earth to Mars would be somewhere in the region of $100 billion. In all likelihood, however, financial costs for such an undertaking would be considerably more than this. Musk himself has even admitted it could be anywhere up to and including $10 trillion. That is such an enormous number, and it is very challenging to imagine. Now, how does SpaceX intend on building a city on Mars? As we've mentioned before, the entire project would rely, initially at least, on the Starship. Initially, the plan would be to send 2 uncrewed Starships to Mars to get the ball rolling. These Starships would be packed with equipment and supplies ready for future crewed flights, a few years later when Earth and Mars's orbits are at their shortest distance from each other. These first missions will also be tasked with scoping out the planet for usable natural resources. It is hoped, for example, to categorically confirm the scale and extent of ice and carbon dioxide levels in the Martian atmosphere. Both of these resources will be vital for being helpful with life support and utilizing them as raw resources for making fuel for future missions. Once the Starship has made it into space with its budding colonists, it would take around 7 months to travel to the Red Planet. When they arrive and safely land, these pioneers will be tasked with setting up a propellant depot, refueling the ships with liquid oxygen and methane made from Martian ice and carbon dioxide, and sending them back to Earth. Over time, the plan is for Starships to mass in orbit, and then make their voyage to Mars every 26 months, when the Earth and Mars are at their closest approaches. Apart from this, Martian pioneers will also need to establish and build recycling schemes, landing pads, habitats, greenhouses, and further life support schemes to ensure the colony could actually become relatively self-sufficient. However, it is important to note that SpaceX does not intend to complete this task using its own resources entirely. Since the living colony will need a large human population to be viable, it will need help from other public and private bodies. It is likely, for example, that NASA and its extensive established international network of suppliers will need to collaborate quite heavily. Yet other companies, and those that may arise in the future, are already working on potential designs for the actual infrastructure and habitats that could be built on the planet. Others are also working on potential designs for Martian orbital outposts that could help lighten the logistical load. This combination of partners and investment will, it is hoped, enable all concerned to build up the infrastructure, workforce, and resources to make this most ambitious of dreams a very real future for our species. So, are you ready for a future on Mars? You'd better be. It might come within your lifetime. And this is it for today, guys. What are your thoughts on today's video? Share your views with us in the comments below. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell icon for more amazing videos about space. And thank you for watching.